Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Better Opinion. I am your host, Kevin. I am once again joined by my secret lover, Manser. Manser?
We're keeping a secret? I thought.
Yeah, that's why I haven't told anyone. Why are you telling them?
But I thought.
Stop talking about it.
Fine. But
I trust you guys. Anyway, Manser. It's good to see you, buddy. How are you?
good to see you as well.
It's been an entire week since I last spoke to you in person.
Yeah, that's true. As lovers, that's very weird.
We're not supposed to talk about it.
I mean, as very close friends.
That history will remember them as roommates.
Yeah.
You ever see that? Did you ever see that? That's one of my favorite jokes. Was the two famous women who were clearly dating? They'd be holding hands in public. They lived together, and there were just like papers that were just calling them like besties and gal pals. History would remember them as good friends, and it's like, this is a lesbian couple. I don't know what you're.
I mean, what's a better friendship than a couple? So I mean, are they wrong?
True. I mean, you're not wrong.
But we're just platonic, of course.
Platonic. Yeah. Totally. Not lovers. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. I know we have a topic for today.
Yeah.
You had brought up to me a little bit before the camera was rolling about the whole stop killing games thing.
Yeah, I think it's a weird argument to have because stop killing games just feels to me like you should be able to use the thing that you owned, even if the company who's...
So, not to stop you, but why don't you go ahead and reiterate for anyone who is actually listening, in case they don't know, what this subject is actually about.
Okay.
What is Stop Killing Games and why is it a controversy?
Stop Killing Games is the idea that multiplayer games, at the moment, if a multiplayer games...
live service game.
It's mostly live service games. If a live service games company decide that they no longer want to keep the servers running, they could just shut it down, and all you'd have access to is kind of the blank menu that, the multiplayer services are not currently available, you can't log in or whatever.
Can't do anything, yeah.
And the controversy is this guy, PirateSoftware. He saw this and he complained that this was an unreasonable ask of developers, and it would prevent them from creating such gameplay experiences. My problem with it is that this is a product you are selling to people, and when you sell a product to people, they have a right to it, regardless of what it is.
Right. Well, that's the problem right now, is that all of these companies say, I'm not selling you the game, I'm selling you a license to the game that's revocable at any time.
But they don't advertise that. They don't advertise it on the page. They sell it like any other game, and they do not say...
And they hide that in the EULA, which it's so funny. I've had this discussion. So back in my corporate shill life, when I worked as a desk jockey, I used to run into this problem all the time, where companies do stuff and the people who are doing it are 100% sure that they are safe, despite the law being not as clear cut as that. EULAs are super cool in that they have never actually successfully held up in court. Like very big deal things, like you agreed that we could ban you if you say the N-word, and so we banned you. Like that can hold up, right? But like any EULAs that have really been challenged in court, where the reason they re-challenged is because the detail within it was unreasonable, have never held up because the courts have always agreed. No layperson could understand what they're agreeing to.
Yes.
And people keep telling me that that's not true. And I go, can you show me where it's not true? Because I can show you where I'm right. I can show you the court cases.
This is actually where TLDR comes from. Too long didn't read. It's from all these long legal documents that you can't reasonably consume before you want to play the game that you want to play.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting because really what they are is a cover your ass and a way of them, before it gets to court, it gives them something to try to point at to make you go away. The truth is that the vast majority of actual challenges to EULAs have almost always resulted in compensation for the person, not the company.
Yeah.
Right. And that's simply for that reason, is that a person has to be able to understand what they're agreeing to. This is an aside, but the reason I said this is it always frustrates me because a good lawyer knows that that's true. They know that a EULA is only, it only protects you against common sense things. If you point to your EULA and a judge could go, yeah, I mean, any person, even if they didn't read this, could assume that these things are in a EULA. They know that. But I've run into it so many times where, well, we have in a document somewhere a thing that says we can do this. And I go, that doesn't really protect you from the law. I used to deal with this with HR all the time when they would try to like punish an employee. And I go, oh, you're about to get absolutely owned. And they'd go, that's not true. And I'd be like, okay. I remember, I think I've told this story, is that there was a salesperson and they had they had different commission rates for different products. And this woman sold this product where the commission rate was really high. So she should have been given, I believe, like $50,000 in commission because she sold a huge deal. And the company had she made this deal, and then the sales director decided different salespeople were only focusing on one product instead of the whole package. So they created these buckets, these targets. You have to hit all of your targets or you don't get commission for any of your targets. And the person was like, this is $50,000. You're paying me. And they're like, well, you didn't hit your buckets. And then she was like, okay, I'm taking the company to court. And they all said, well, we're going to win. This was the agreement. And I told the director of HR, I was like, you're going to lose. She's going to be like, why? I said, because she didn't agree to that. And they're like, well, it says right here we can change the commission structure at any time. And I said, that's not how agreements work. She has a contract. I said, do you have anywhere in writing evidence that you presented this to her and she agreed to continue working under these circumstances? And they're like, well, I don't need that. I'm like, you do. Because even if you're allowed, all it says is she can't sue you for changing it. That doesn't mean she can't sue you for money that you owe her. It just means that if you take her to, if she wanted to say, I wish to keep my job with the old thing, with the old agreement, and you have changed the agreement, I can't sue you if you fire me if I don't agree to the new agreement. But you still have to get proof that she agreed to it. And on top of that, she made this sale before the change. So no matter what, you lose. And they insisted I was wrong. They fought me. They argued with me in front of a bunch of people. Anyway, they lost, and they had to pay that an extra. And then it was a shame for everyone, except me, who kept going, I told you this is how this works. And that people, they don't. They think they know what they're talking about. Why did I tell this story? Because that's really not related, it would seem like. The reason is because people are so sure of the way the law works, and they do not understand.
Yeah.
They do not understand how amorphous it actually is.
It's very interesting looking at the video game industry because I work in programming at like the general corporate programming agencies, etc. And it feels like a lot of the problems there are that most of the programmers who go into that field don't know too much about what rights they have and what they should be looking for. The same with artists. And it feels like looking at people in my field, if we need to make a change because of the law, we make that change. We have to do it. It's like it's a requirement. If we have to do something for medical, we follow the rules for medical. And I'm thinking, oh, this is just a new requirement they have to follow, because that's how programming works. You have specific requirements for specific tasks. That's what IEEE is for. You need to do something a certain way.
Yeah, I remember when the whole GDPR thing fell in like Europe and stuff, right? And managing financial data became so much more complicated, even if you were just an American company, because if any of your customers... it's like you either don't get to do business over there or you follow GDPR. And if you do follow GDPR, you have to do it everywhere.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to have because you need to be good to your customers. You shouldn't get away, especially if you're in charge of such important systems.
Yeah.
That's why the law is there. It's to protect its customers, not to protect companies who are not people, by the way, who do not...
I overturn that. Corporations are not people. Citizens United is insane. Get rid of it. So the point here is, without getting too off track here, is the point of Stop Killing Games, as I understand it, was the idea that these companies should not be allowed to sell you a product and then stop supporting that product, thereby completely removing your access to it, that they want it to be a legal standard that is clearly defined. Technically, it still is. Technically speaking, nobody has, as it stands, it's undefined case law. No one has sued a company for stopping service because they go, well, we have a EULA saying we can, and EULAs have been challenged in court a million times, which was what my original point was. But the subject of this has not. Now, that's not entirely the case because Valve lost that lawsuit about whether or not you own a digital product. Technically, Valve in Europe, I think it was Valve or someone, I don't remember. I remember it was why Valve had to change their refund policy, and then they did it globally. And it was because they lost a lawsuit. Someone lost a lawsuit. I don't remember if it was Valve in either the UK or Europe as a whole, some court where it was like, well, no, in Europe, you actually like own your digital products. And so they had to change that refund policy to one that was agreeable to the court. And when they did that, they decided to just make it their global refund policy because I think Valve hasn't always been perfect, but at least when they get slapped on the wrist, they go, well, if we're doing it for one, we'll do it for all.
Yeah.
You know? And the reality is like, as of yet, no one's challenged this issue. So we don't actually know what the case law is on end of service. Because they have a EULA saying, yeah, we can do this, but will a court agree?
Yeah.
Right? It could go either way, but I think that it actually isn't very much in their favor if it ever did get challenged.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if... I'd be very sad and very scared if this did not go in the way of the customer.
Especially in European courts, because they're sort of anti-business.
as they should, as all courts should be.
They should be, yeah. I agree. I think they should be pro-individual. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
And this isn't a new thing either. EA, as shitty as they are, surprisingly have done this before. They've done it with Command and Conquer recently, where they let the community help create the server and like run it. The only thing is you just still need to run you still need to buy Command and Conquer. You just have to like update it with a community patch, and then you can run it on community servers.
Yeah, so the big controversy, as I understand it, because here's the truth. I haven't engaged heavily with this subject, and I can explain my reason why. Stop Killing Games is sort of a no-brainer to me. All it is someone saying, hey, everybody, I think that games should be preserved, and live services prevent that. So if a company sunsets a game, then it should be released to the public so that the public can still utilize it for something if they so desire, right? You shut down an MMO, you give the dev package to someone so that they can do what they want and revive it as a private server or something. Yeah. And that's, I don't think, a big ask. In the modern age of technology, that's not a big ask. Now, as I understand, Jason Ferret Software, aka PirateSoftware, aka the guy who uses his middle name because his first name is boring, who is a industry plant. I'm just going to be honest before I get into this. I don't like him.
I didn't get that from what you were saying.
No, I've defended him before when I felt that something was unreasonable, right? So that was like the whole, everybody was like jumping down his throat over that time some people died in hardcore WoW, and I was like, I don't think this really matters. I strongly dislike him. He's full of himself. He knows very little about the things he claims to be an expert in. He's a Nepo baby, and I think he's an industry plant because he's just like overly pro-corporate. I also just find him annoying. I can't stand when people do that, where they're like, they have like his name isn't Thor. That's his middle name. That's not his first name, but he goes by Thor because that sounds cooler, and then he bass boosts his voice to further be Mr. Thor. And, he talks endlessly about being a developer, but he spends most of his time just like grinding video games on stream now because that makes more money than developing a game. I'm not here to, I think people deride him because of his his programming's bad. I was like, you don't need to attack his programming. What if it is bad? Like, the end product's all that matters. If Heartbound was good, then who cares how it was programmed? Yeah,
was it Deltarune? Everyone loved Undertale. The programming is shit.
Yeah, but who cares? It runs. Like, my thing is like, if you want to criticize this guy, you could just criticize him. You don't even have to criticize his work because he's so incompetent and so annoying of a human being that you don't need to do that. But So why am I saying this? Why am I admitting my bias? Because I want to say it honestly. I don't like him. So, but I've defended him before when I felt it was unreasonable. This random influencer who's annoying has come out and been like, well, what about all the poor developers who would have to provide the source code and support it? No, you don't. You don't have to do any of that. All we're asking is that you give the code, which in the modern age of storage would be easy. You drag and drop the file into some sort of accessible box. You give people the link, and then you say, have fun. You've got this much time until I don't support this storage anymore. Or you just hand it to someone. Make a means by which to hand it to someone that you don't even have to manage.
Or you know what? What always happens in these cases is that company props up, like porting companies or whatever other company who specializes in this, and then they will do it for you.
Yeah, whatever. The point here is that he's sitting here making all these whiny baby arguments, and it's like, none of that matters, dude. You don't matter. But here's the real reason. The real reason is because he's an industry plant. And a lot of these companies, they don't actually care about this. What it actually is for whatever reason, companies they want to own a lot of IPs and never provide those to anyone else. That's why there's so many dead IPs. IPs that, big companies buy them, then they do nothing with them. So that's what it is. They want to make it so if they decide to abandon a product, they never have to give anyone that product.
They need to really change that.
Yes, I would agree.
Ubisoft owning Tom Clancy's name is fucking stupid.
It is insane. Yeah, no, it is. It is insane. That happened to Colonel Sanders.
I guess
his likeness is owned by Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't own his own likeness. That's crazy. So what's my point is that the whole, I haven't kept up with this subject because I think it's so clear cut. It's clear cut. Jason is an idiot. Don't listen to him. Stop Killing Games. Obvious. Easy win. I don't know why anyone is against it.
I just don't understand why people couldn't just read that and think to themselves, I'm a gamer. I would like my games to be able to be played even after the developer stops. Even if this is very difficult, you as a consumer should not give a shit how difficult that is. It's not your problem. It's the developer's problem.
Yeah.
They're paid to do this. I'll say yes. Game programmers are not paid well. That's a different fucking problem.
That's a different problem.
That's a different problem. The problem here is that you are being screwed. Would you like to no longer be screwed? Yes or no?
No, you're right. And this is actually an issue in general with our sort of where we are in time, is that everybody gets, this is something I get, you and I have talked about this. I get really frustrated because I feel like the people I speak to don't form opinions. They read headlines and they get all of their opinions from an influencer who's also just some guy. Like, what are their credentials? And credentials don't even mean degrees. Credentials can mean experience. It could even mean a record. You could have a guy with no credentials who, over the course of 10 years, has been consistently correct, and that's his credentials. Credentials is any evidence that this person is worth listening to. But instead, they go to like Asmongold, Jason, Hassan, these people who are consistently wrong. And then they're like, this is my personality, this guy.
And you know why you should listen to us? Because we have the better opinion.
We have the better opinion. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. We have opinions. The show is called The Better Opinion because it's an oxymoron, which is why it's funny when people get mad that it's called The Better Opinion and try to like say, I wouldn't call it a better opinion. Yeah, I know, dingbat. That's the joke. You discovered the joke of the name. But the thing is that
they're geniuses, our viewers, really.
Yeah, they are. Well, those people, the few people who actually watch consistently, they are actually quite smart.
That is my opinion. That's my better
opinion. That's my better opinion. But no, the thing is the point of this show has always been to not, I have an opinion. You have an opinion. We're discussing our opinions. But the goal isn't to tell you, the viewer, that you have to listen to my opinion and accept it as true. It's to challenge you to walk through the same thought process we're having. That's why we're so long-winded.
That's why I love Star Trek so much, and I reference it so much, because you should watch Star Trek and learn from it.
That's true. Yeah, no, it's the point of this show has always been an oxymoron, because it's not about opinions. It's about it's about walking through the thoughts of these subjects and forming your own opinion. And that may mean that you end up agreeing with us, but that's because we spend a lot of time thinking about these subjects before we talk about them.
And it's fine if you disagree with us, as long as you have a decent reason to do so.
Yeah, as long as you've actually thought about it, and it's not just because you think, dude, he's got a curly mustache, which makes him a left-wing cuck, as if they even know. The irony when people say that is always funny, because I'm not a leftist, so it's like, you know what I mean? And so, but like what am I saying here? What I'm saying is that this show in and of itself is about the very thing that is what we're talking about. The problem is people don't think. They don't sit down and ask themselves, what do I actually think? They just listen to someone else, and that forms their entire opinion.
And it's not even a nuanced opinion.
It's not. They don't know why they even think that.
There's no like if-else statements. It's very bad programming.
Yeah, it's very bad programming. No, you're right. No, it's just I like thing, I don't like thing. It's mostly emotional reactions, but people have consumed enough internet debate that they just say gotchas and bullshit, and they don't even know why they think what they think. And they have reactions. You know, we live in an age where you can't say sex. Everyone calls shit segs.
Yeah,
you can't say rape is bad. You have to say grape is bad.
Why do they do that?
Because of TikTok. Because TikTok will ban text on screen. If the text says something, their AI bullshit or their auto-detect algorithms will just go, oh, it says sex, it says rape, therefore it is bad. YouTube does this. Just me saying those words could somehow make it go, this video is about that subject, even though actually we're just discussing the word, we're not even discussing the subject matter.
It's so harmful to those actual discussions, just preventing people from saying the problem.
Yeah, our primary means of discussing problems has been removed. Our primary mean of consuming information is video media nowadays, and it is also the only means of having these conversations, and we're not allowed to talk about them. It's like the FCC all over again. It's the FCC making it impossible to have critical conversations, but now it's the corporations because they're afraid of their advertisers.
Yeah,
that's really what it is. That's where that's what we've become. And so now nobody forms an opinion of their own, because that's my frustration with Stop Killing Games. I think the answer is, I think it answers itself.
Yeah.
Should products you purchase be available to you after the company that made it no longer supports it? The answer is an obvious yes.
Well, yeah, because
there's it serves no one for the answer to be no.
And if you don't understand it, it's like if someone sold you ice cream but didn't allow you to refrigerate it.
Yeah. But it's not even their refrigerator. Right? Like, it's not their refrigerator. Yeah. They've said, we no longer stock ice cream. We no longer refrigerate ice cream. Yeah. But we sold you refrigerated ice cream. You have to put it on the floor. Yeah. That's what they're saying.
You have to destroy it. You've bought it. That's actually in their EULAs.
Yeah, you have to destroy the disc and like delete it. That's like, insane.
Who's gonna fucking do that?
Yeah, not me. Well, the law doesn't even support that.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. Abandonware is written into law. Yeah. If they abandon it, you don't have to. You don't actually have to listen to anything anymore. They've abandoned it.
Yeah, there's a website called abandonware.com where you can just download a bunch of abandonware.
Yeah, and all of the EULAs would say that website's illegal, and yet none of them will ever sue because it's not illegal.
It's abandonware.
It's abandonware.
Hell, the Internet Archive has a bunch of games you can just download. Yeah. That's abandonware.
Yeah, as long as it's been abandoned, you can do whatever you want with it. Yeah. So what Stop Killing Games is actually doing is it's not even actually saying if a company abandons something, you should be allowed to do whatever you want with it. All it's actually saying is if a company abandons a game, they should be obligated to at least release to the wild the means of continuing to support it.
And also another important thing, they cannot stop you from keeping it up. because the problem that often comes is people do try to like come up with mitigations, but this happened recently with Call of Duty. They'll sue them because maybe they're making a new product.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, is that Call of Duty, there's still the problem with abandonware is they have to have fully abandoned it. A new iteration of the same product counts as not abandoning it.
Which is stupid because they sell the old Call of Duties, but they all have RCE exploits.
Right.
So you can't, if you are a smart person, you will never play them online.
Right.
Because people will just hack into your system.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the whole controversy was weird because I saw all the posts about it. I saw all the hate that fake deep voice man was getting. And I was just like, I don't understand what the controversy is here. I don't understand why this is a big debate. Yeah. I don't know why Jason even opened his mouth. Like, he what does he get out of it? Because he's an industry plant. That's what he gets out of it.
The biggest problem to me is like we've said this. You've already said this. Is that a bunch of people listened to him and did not think.
Yeah, they consume his content, and so anything he says is gospel. That's it. You know, anything he says is gospel, and you know what the problem is? That's the problem with content creation. We're at a point in history where the most famous people have people who just like blindly follow them. I remember I have a occasional viewer. So I used to get there's a guy named Faraz Khan, a good friend of mine. He was a pretty big streamer for a while. Was big in the hit running or hitless speed running scene for a while, and he stopped streaming. But him and I used to do live debates. We're good friends, very opposite politics. And he would often invite me on in front of his audience of like, you know, I'm like a 30 to 60 viewer Andy, depending on, it used to be 60 during COVID, but now I'm more like a 30 to 40 viewer Andy. But he used to invite me on and was in front of his audience, like 200 people. And we just have a debate about politics, right? And one of his viewers, it was really interesting. One of his dedicated viewers also had opposite politics of him because he would watch him and then go watch Hassan. And I don't like Hassan. I think Hassan is just like kind of a grifter and bullshit. And when I would talk about why I don't like Hassan, I would state specific opinions with factual reasons. And this viewer, I like this viewer, by the way, but this is what would happen. His reply would be, I think he's a swell guy, shrug emoji. I'd be like, why? What does he do that's swell? I just think he's a swell guy. And it's like, so you don't actually have a reason. You just consume what he says and clap. Yeah. That's it. That's all it is. And it's like, I don't actually care if you do watch it, but I can give you concise and clear reasons about what I think is wrong. Can you give me clear, concise reasons about what you think is right that isn't, I like him? Because he's not your friend.
Yeah.
But that's where, not to stop you from going, but just to say, like, that's the problem that we're at with content creation is content creators are not a source of information. They're not information at all. They're actually just a face, and they speak and you clap. And if they challenge you, then you don't like them.
It's just a religion.
It's just a religion. It is actually, right? You are a blank viewer and nothing they can do is wrong.
Because it's the same as that's what I was going to say. It's the same as like being part of religion. It's a feeling thing.
Right.
Is that you feel what they say is good and it fits you well and it makes you feel better. But that doesn't mean it's correct. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean it is the best objective thing for you.
Or even just well thought out. I mean, like, you could say it makes you feel good and then ask yourself why and walk through that and come to a conclusion. Mm-hmm. But it never goes there. It's just, I don't even want to say good. Mm-hmm. I feel strong emotion that I want to feel. Therefore, yes. Mm-hmm. Right? Because sometimes it's, this guy and I get angry together. Right? That's Asmongold viewers. Right? They just want to laugh at everyone and feel righteous. And he can say the most inflammatory, insane, factually incorrect shit. And everyone's just like, oh, God, I love being a Nurglite. I love Nurgle, you know? And that's all they do. They just go, it's great. I love it. Yeah, I like being angry. I like hating on things, right? That's what it is. And they don't have a reason for their hate. Mm-hmm. It's just, it feels righteous and strong. And they get to clap.
I have a hard time hating people for a very long time, even for people who have done something particularly wrong. I just run out of energy.
I have a hard time. It's an interesting one. I have explained this to people because I do hold grudges, but unlike other people, I don't really hold on to energy of it very long.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you've wronged me, I'll probably hate you for the rest of your life until one day you make it up to me. But it's an intellectual hate. It's just, oh, I just know I don't like you, and I acknowledge that you're not someone I want to like give any credit or good time to, but I don't really. It's hard for me to hold on to the emotion of hate. It's too much energy.
Yeah, I won't put any effort into wrong you back, but maybe I won't be so happy to be in the same company as you. I'll probably avoid you in general in like spaces like oh, do you want to come out? I'll say no, I'm busy.
I'm a little different. I'll definitely one day get you back, but I won't plan it. It's really just you're going to regret that. And then like 3 years later, you really needed me. And then I let you down. And then you ask me why. And I say, remember when I needed you? You held on to that for 3 years? Absolutely. Get fucked. Next time you won't do that again. That's happened to me at work. My boss embarrassed me in a room full of people. And then 6 months later, when it was his turn to be saved, I embarrassed him. And then I reminded him. I said, remember when you did that to me? Never do that again. He never did it again. But it's a cold thing. It's very cold, right? It's very just like filing that away for when I need it. You know, not that that's super relevant, but I think that I agree with you about the energy. I won't really devote my energy into disliking someone. It's not worth my time.
Yeah, it's such a waste of time. It's like when you could be doing better things with your life.
But I do think for me, I do think remembering and making a point when you have the opportunity is an important tool, because it's not just about that person. It's about everyone else knowing that you did it, because then it's like, I'll do it to you too. You really want to? you know, Mike and I work together at the same company. He knows he was there for all the times that people used to try to get one over on me, but every time they would try, I made them look bad. And eventually people stopped doing that because they realized that I was the worst person to try to throw under the bus. You know, I hate to talk about the politics of business, but sometimes you have to be ready to be the bad guy if you want.
Bus somewhere full of like knife stabs on its underside. Where people tried to throw them under it.
They tried. Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. I think hating things in general takes a lot of energy.
Yeah. Especially for media, that's why I really want to like something, and I hate. Although I talk about a lot of things I don't like doing it. I don't like hating what other people like. It's more of when I think I don't enjoy something, I think I'm missing out. I don't think, oh, you suck for enjoying this thing. I think, wow, it's such a shame that I can't enjoy this as well. I wish I could find something like that.
I don't think I'm the same, but you're making me be introspective, because I like criticizing, but I don't like hating. You know, I think that when something is good, it is harder to really have a deep discussion as to why. Like you can, you know, but why is a movie good? Well, the cinematography worked really well with the music and the storytelling. Okay, but like, what about it? Yeah, I mean, like this moment. But usually when you're criticizing it, it's usually a little bit more nitty gritty as to what really went wrong.
Because it's really hard to describe a good thing. It's something ticked your box that is like, this was satisfying to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure I'm wrong. There's probably is a universe where you could as deeply drill down into what made something good as to what made something bad. But I always find when I review games on my other channel that it can be hard for me to talk about the things that are good for a full length. I can talk for 2/3 of the video about the bad things. I think. So you're really, oh man, I actually didn't, because I'm really doing some thinking right now.
Because I find the idea of something being good very interesting? Because all media is made up. How do you measure?
How do you measure good?
It's like what writing is good. I can tell you I enjoyed something better. I think doing something in this way is better. But
I don't like reviewing things I didn't like, but I also can really nitpick the critical. I think I know why. I think it's because when you say something's good, no one argues. So you don't really have to. You don't spend a lot of time deep diving into why something was good. You don't even do this in business. When something works, very few people actually ask you to deep dive into why it worked. And if you do, you don't have to drill very deeply, right? Like nobody really does super deep root cause analysis on success. They may want a report, like why did this work? Let's talk about that. But you can really make it a one pager and everyone will be like, but when something's bad, to save your job, you've got to drill super deep into what fucked up. And so I think when we're talking about a game and I'm going into why I didn't like this feature, right? So I loved this game, but this feature was bad. People who like it are going to disregard everything you said that was good because of your one criticism. So you have to be really, really right. You have to really drill down to be irrefutable. But nobody's going to do that to you about the thing you liked.
It's very interesting because I remember something a writing teacher told me in college is that a person who can break the rules of writing is someone who understands them. I feel like that's the sort of person who did root cause analysis on why something is good.
Yeah, it's interesting because I agree with you. I don't actually like talking about things I don't like. That was the thing I was going to say in the beginning is that I like critical analysis and I like explaining why something bothered me in something, but the more I like something, the more willing to talk about its flaws I am. If I strongly dislike something, I reach a point where I go, there's too much I don't like. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the whole thing. Now I do agree with you. Every once in a while I do run into something where I go, I don't know why I don't like this compared to everyone else. I know why I don't like it, but what am I missing? That's what happened to me with Claire Obscure. Is I just didn't like it overall.
Yeah.
And everyone else did. And so I was like, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah, because there was this movie that came out, K-pop Demon Hunters, and I was watching the beginning and I could not handle it. I was like,
it's the animation for me. I just don't like it.
It was also just the people. I don't know. I don't understand. This draws back to the beginning. I don't understand being that big of a fan for a group or a thing. So it's
worshipping a person has always been obscure to me. I don't get it.
It threw me off, and it was such a shame because I was hearing such good things from other people who loved it. They were saying the animation's very good, and I felt like it's.
That's a debate, but
I mean, I don't know because I didn't see it because I couldn't handle getting past the beginning. So I felt like, I'm just unfortunately this thing is not for me, so I'm not going to be able to enjoy it.
I think I talked about this for 2 seconds months ago, but you want to know what was a thing everybody praises that I can't stand? And this is one of the ones that I don't think I'm missing something. The new Trigun. It's this 3D CG animated version of Trigun. They turned Vash into a femboy. And here's the thing. I understand everything people are saying about why they think it's cool or looks good. And I was like, I just wish it wasn't called Trigun. I wish it was just called something else. Desert Punk. I don't know.
I don't know why they made a new Trigun. I watched the old Trigun a while ago, and then I rewatched the first episode. It still looks good. 2D animation does not age, in my opinion. It does not age at all. So I'm always confused. It's you made it in 3D software because it's cheaper than drawing. But why not just go back to the original?
Yeah, well, I hate when people re-release something. You want to know what I hate? I'm using the word hate. You know what I strongly have a problem with? Is when companies or people, they take something that already exists and it's already really good. And then they take that and they go, I'm going to make it different. I'm going to reimagine all of it. And I go, why? I don't want it reimagined. Maybe I would have been impressed by the 3D animation if it was a beat for beat remake. And someone said, the reason that we did this was not that we felt there was anything wrong with the original, but because we wanted to see with our skill, if we could make something that looked really good, that was a beat for beat remake. I wanted to make the same thing in a new software and prove that we could. And I would have been like, okay, yeah, I can buy into that sort of passion for saying I wanted to see I could. But once you just start changing things, the guy's name isn't Knives because it's knives. His name is Knives because he psychically controls knives. What? Who looked in the mirror and said, I deserve to not be killed? And then wrote that on a piece of paper. Who thought that getting rid of, what was her name? Was it Meryl? Or is Meryl the short girl? There's two, the big woman who had a grenade launcher.
She has like Gatling gun too, doesn't she?
Millie, yeah.
Oh.
Millie has it's a beanbag launcher. It looks like a rotary grenade launcher. It's a beanbag launcher. And she just keeps it up her dress.
Yeah.
And it's super heavy and she can carry it like it's nothing.
Yeah.
But she's really cute and sweet. That's a really fun character. They just replaced her with some old reporter man.
Huh?
Why? I don't know. They also took Knives and said it's literal. His name is Knives.
This is very weird because people do Romeo and Juliet a lot, and I feel like they don't go through this much liberty.
I don't know. It's weird to me, and people. Why did I even think about this? Because I literally saw another post praising it the other day. People going, "Oh my God, he's farming aura. Look at this," and I'm just like, this is a really long, drawn out shot of Vash with Skrillex hair just like posing while the wind blows. I'm sure whoever made this was masturbating after they made it. That's about all I've got for you. This is not interesting, and this is not Vash the Stampede.
Yeah. Because I remember really liking Trigun. I love watch Trigun, it. Yeah. I should watch it again because when I was younger, I went out of my way to look for very different anime. That was just...
Trigun suffers from the same thing a lot of really hit animes from that era have, which is at some point in the story, they just decide to do a time skip, and it can be very jarring, and you go, what's going on? Did I miss an episode?
Yeah, that was a problem with a lot of shows, I feel like. It's just like...
From that era, yeah.
It's like, what happened?
Wait, how are we here? Wait... Did I miss an episode?
It was like, was there like an OVA or something? It was like,
yeah, I would agree. But I don't know. It feels just like hubris. But we've talked about that recently. We're working on a little something and we're making changes just because someone else took someone else's lore and decided that they could make a better version of it and just made a very strange alternate reality.
Wow.
People do that a lot. They go, I could do this better, and then they do it worse.
The idea that I can do it better in my head sucks because you have you're coming from the wrong direction in making a story. You're not looking to make a good thing. You're looking to prove that you can be better.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is sort of masturbatory.
Yeah, because you're not trying to entertain anyone. You just try to show that look at my ideas, OC Do Not Steal, are better.
Yeah,
Sonic the Hedgehog,
Cold
whatever.
Steel the Hedgehog.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool if Sonic just had katanas coming on his back or something? I think if he were just Japanese.
Yeah, dude, this is better. My story is deeper.
And if
it's Bushido.
If he had Cyclops eyes and he could just laser you.
Gomena, sorry. Gomena Sonic. Yeah, there you go. I agree. I don't know why people do that. But anyway, somehow we ended up pretty far away from the original topic. I definitely think that I agree that this subject is one that it's kind of like everybody's been whipped up into it. and I feel like it's kind of crazy.
It feels like a subject that highlights something no one's talking about, is that you are the reason this is a problem is because people are following their messiah and not that they are thinking objectively for themselves. It's also why other stuff is happening today, but I won't go into that.
Well, you know what? That's actually, I mean, that's all of human history, though.
Yeah.
Right? That's religion. I'm not even here to bash religion. I'm just saying that's religion.
Yeah.
That is, populist movements. It's always that someone or something becomes like a god, and then they are unwilling to question that thing.
It's because people are too lazy to.
I don't even know if it's lazy. I don't, I think you'll find that what it really is that most people just, for one reason or another, whether it's their personality, how they were raised, or the stresses of their lives, don't find themselves in a position to deeply think about most things. And I think we've talked about this on this before. I don't consider myself like a super genius or anything, even though everyone around me would agree that I'm probably the best out of all of our friends at critical thinking.
Yeah.
And that's not because I was born a genius. It's because, and this isn't, I've talked about this with Michael. We talk whenever we're in the car. An average car ride with us is mostly a discussion of philosophy. Is that while intelligence is a real thing, there's a weird thing that happens. If you work really hard to exercise your muscles and become really strong, everyone says, wow, they worked really hard. If you practice drawing until you're a great artist, people go, wow, they worked really hard. Yeah, I mean, people on the internet, blah, 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 blah. But like, let's be real, right?
Yeah.
Any physical skill you develop, everyone will agree. But if it's something that is perceived as being connected to intellect, now you're not allowed to talk about how good you are at it because now you're gloating.
Yeah, because...
And it's like, well, no, you could do what I do, but I've spent 20 years practicing it.
Because I've said this before. I feel like it's always a problem when people say, it's like, oh, you're so smart. No, I just listen.
And I've learned, and I took an interest in learning.
Yeah.
Critical thinking and critical analysis are a skill. Our brains are very malleable. Yes, to some degree, there are certain ways you are born. There are certain genetics that give you advantages, but that's true of everything. That's true of muscle mass. That's true of a metabolism, right? So, but that doesn't mean that you can't work really hard. I picked up my first critical thinking book at Barnes & Noble when I was 15, right? And I've spent a lot of my life listening to critique, learning critical analysis, writing stories, analyzing my own stories, and I'm 35. When I say I've been doing it for 20 years, I'm being literal, And you can too. And when I say you, I mean anybody, right? But if you say, oh yeah, I'm really good at critical analysis, I'm better at critical thinking than you, people think that means, oh, so you're smarter than me. And I'm not calling you stupid. I'm saying you've never flexed those muscles. You flex other muscles. The act of visualizing a concept and analyzing and tearing it down is not something you've practiced.
It's the art of asking why and actually thinking about it instead of just like sliding down the easy way. Because the reason why I've gotten to this point is that there are a lot of books I've read. There's a lot of stuff that went through while young, and I thought, why is this way? It was like, I bring up Night. This is like Night about the guy who was held by the Nazis. I think, well, why did they do that? I go through the process of why would they do this stuff? And I think it's very important to do that because if ever that comes up again, now I'll have an understanding of, well, how can I work against that?
I was talking to so the guy who edits our, shorts and podcasts and uploads them for us. I was talking to him the other night. We were just hanging out and I was talking to him and I said, which shout out to Silver, that's his online name. Shout out to Brock, our editor. But like, I was talking to him. I said, there's knowing, and then there's knowing. Knowing is when you understand factually the events that have unfolded. I know why Manser hid the cake from me, right? You decided you didn't want me to find the cake because if I did, you thought I'd eat it.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, that's shitty. Like, why don't you just tell me not to eat the cake?
Well, because I know you wouldn't listen to me, okay?
Right. But then there's knowing, which is, if I were Manser, why would I take those actions? And then being able to feel it, internalize being that person and taking those actions, that is knowing. And you never truly understand until you have true knowing. And that sounds like Tumblr philosophical guru shit, but it's not. It's just that most people don't spend much time or ever spend time learning to do that. And it's what they tried to teach us in school about empathy, but they failed because they themselves didn't get it.
Well, it's also a problem. They have to pass everyone. And like, it's very hard to measure that really if everyone's just reading Spark Notes.
Yeah, that's true. There's too much. I mean, let's be honest. School has too much curriculum.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bullshit that doesn't actually contribute to learning.
I do think English is actually very important. I do think English is more important than people give it credit for. And I think, and it's funny how little of it is used by actual professional people, which is a shame.
I think that communication and anything that lends to communication is the most important subject you can learn, because through everything else you'll learn that, right?
Yeah.
I actually think English class, because you teach English but you don't teach communication, it harms people's ability to communicate, because then everything's an essay. It's essay or it's colloquial speak, it's short speak because you're texting or something.
You make a persuasive essay, but you don't actually put it into effect to convince someone. You're just making a good essay that fits the grade, and it's not useful.
Yeah, well, I think about it this way. If you're talking to your friend on Discord, right, and they make an argument to you, there's two ways they could make that argument. They could make a giant paragraph, or they could type like a person who's speaking. And people say they hate when a person types like they're speaking, so there's like 6 lines, except that if you read it that way, you almost imagine talking to them in person. Yeah. Versus if you read a paragraph, you actually don't actually consume the whole paragraph many times. It seems like a huge block.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't even realize it, because if they were typing line by line, it might annoy you in the moment. But if you waited and then consumed all of it, reading it like a person speaks actually makes you imagine the person.
It's punctuation.
Yeah.
You're punctuating your speech.
Yeah, because actual punctuation doesn't actually punctuate the way a person speaks.
Yeah.
Right? Like actual periods and commas and shit like that, they don't actually in a paragraph punctuate the way a person actually speaks, which is why when people write fiction and they write a person speaking, they change the format of the text.
Yeah.
They don't leave it in a paragraph. The paragraph is only used for explanation of the story from outside of a speech pattern. But they don't teach you that in English class. Maybe in super advanced creative writing classes, but they don't teach you that in English class. But when's the last time you took a intro to communication class?
College. I was actually forced to.
Yeah, people were forced to do it. Only certain majors are forced to do it. Oh, that might have changed. When I went to college, it was only a requirement because I was a media major, right? Because I was a film and acting major. You don't have to take that if you're like a science major.
I did feel like it taught me a lot. I did actually like my communication class.
I hated mine because the teacher was an idiot. He was how do I put this? The curriculum was really good, but he was bad because he played this weird game about communication. He almost treated it like a philosophy class. Basically, he purposefully acted like an asshole, so at the end of the year, he could make a point. And I literally told him this point was terrible and half your class didn't get it. And he was like, and I told him this away from the class because I said something mean to him in class on the final day. And he later said, I never spoke to you again. Why did you say that? Like, people get mad at me all the time, but what you said stuck with me. And because he met me, I was working the booth at the theater to sell tickets to a play at the school theater. And I was like, because half the class didn't understand your point. I wasn't mad because of your point. I gamed you the whole time. You gave me straight A's because I just pretended to be listening. I didn't even do the work. You just thought I was listening. So I gamed your class because I didn't have to do the curriculum because you were too busy playing your game. And the other half of the class doesn't understand what the lesson was. and it's like, it's because, this is sort of an aside. I always remember that because he was like, I had a couple problem teachers when I was in college, and I always remember those people.
I feel like some people are not as smart as they think they are, and have a hard time actually approaching that subject.
Yeah, well, because the curriculum was really good. Like you said, there was a lot of important lessons. Like, you can never truly know what's in another person's head or heart.
Yeah.
That's an important lesson. You don't actually know. Only what they tell you, which could be a lie.
But you can deduce it. You
can deduce a good understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And there's but you're right that people they think they're too smart. And that was his issue. Is I was like, you were so caught up in trying to create a lesson about communication, about listening, that you don't understand that nobody understood why you were doing it. The punchline never delivered.
Yeah.
You know? So it was, you punished people for not listening to you about certain instructions, but they don't think, oh, he's teaching me about listening. What they thought was, man, he's kind of a pedant. You know, that's all they thought. They didn't actually understand the point you were making.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then that's the only communications class you take.
Well, here's the thing. My school, you either took like public communication or you like between people. I think public communication was good enough that it kind of covered both subjects.
Did you take interpersonal communication?
I did not take it. I felt like public communication was more important.
Yeah. Funny story. Interpersonal communication is a terrible name for a class that all colleges do because it's not about this. It's not about this. It's about professional communication. I know, it's a terrible course, and I've looked at the coursework from other colleges, and it was the same. It was so strange. I was like, so when do I learn how to like talk to my friends? You know, instead of asking questions about why the elephant crossed the river.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know.
That's real?
It's real. I'm not making this up. Yeah. Well, that's college coursework for you, you know.
Hit or miss.
Yeah, hit or miss. But point being is, your original point was
I don't remember it.
People don't learn communication.
Oh, yeah. People don't learn communication. I think part of it is because sometimes they're in groups where people just listen to what they say. Mm-hmm. And maybe you might not even know that people are disagreeing with you. You just take their silence as agreement.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's another problem. People just live in silence. People don't know how to challenge. And what can happen is that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I don't know if either of you guys, I'm going to bring Mike in on this, have experienced this, but there's this thing that can happen where you don't communicate out of fear or whatever. It's usually fear. It's some derivative of fear. You say you don't care. It's really, I'm uncomfortable, right? So out of fear, you don't communicate. You just accept until one day you get frustrated and you explode. And then the response to your explosion is you're the bad guy. And actually you are, because even if you were right, it didn't warrant hostility, right? Because the problem is you're frustrated because you remained silent for so long. You blame the other person, you get angry, and then they snap at you. You're the bad guy. You get shot down. You feel humiliated. So then that reinforces the behavior of not speaking up. So over the course of your life, you continuously always back down when you should speak up because you fear the consequences of speaking up because you only speak up when it's the wrong time to do so. Have you experienced that?
No. Yes.
I will kill you. I will go over there and I will strangle our controlman.
A lot.
I didn't finish saying I'd strangle our cameraman off screen, but now I have. But have you experienced that?
Yeah, but I've also found I've forced myself to do it because there's some times where something really needs to be said, and I found I would rather deal with the consequences, even if I'm wrong, than to like make this go on any longer.
But if you get comfortable just talking about things when they come up,
yeah,
you know, sometimes people will say you're an asshole. Sometimes they'll say, oh, you're too blunt, you don't have tact, blah, 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 blah. But rarely will you ever run into the situation where, damn, you shouldn't have said anything, buddy, because you'll never blow up. You'll always just call it out when you call it out. And maybe people will think you're calling it out too much, but you know what? Be way better than a big explosion.
Yeah.
You know, you have to just get comfortable with discomfort. That's what it is. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I always find that the sensation is that you just have to jump into the cold pool and just let it go over your head. Then you're through.
Yeah.
And you do it enough, you'll just you'll just get more comfortable with it. You'll just get into a cold pool more often.
What I run into is people are often afraid to talk to me about issues, and then they wait until it's a big deal, and then they're surprised when I'm just like, can you fuck off? And they're like, why? I'm like, because this isn't a big deal, but we're having a big fight, and this is a waste of my time. I've been on this call for 2 hours for a 5-minute problem. What do you mean it's a 5-minute problem? I said, if you'd brought this up to me way back at the beginning, we would have just worked it out. It's not a big deal. This isn't a huge deal. This is nothing. If you weren't being such an asshole, I'd just give you everything you wanted. But because you're being a dick, I don't really want to. And then usually they're like, oh man, I should have just brought it up. And I'm like, yeah, you should have, you know, but people are too afraid. So that's what happens is that nobody communicates because everyone's afraid to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
That's my experience. But I feel like we've gotten super duper far away from the original topic, but I don't really have anything else to say about Stop Killing Games. Do you?
Not really. I think I said it. It's like, well, I guess one last thing. If it's so hard to do it, then maybe live service games shouldn't be a thing. As a product. That's honestly my best take. If you can't make a reasonable product, it shouldn't be a product.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that'll never happen.
Yeah.
Because companies are just going to make things because their only goal is to make money. But I agree with you. Yeah. If it should be that if you're not going to make something, well, I think that's sort of the point of the whole movement. Don't make a live service game if you're not ready to do end of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, if you made it to the end and all our deviations and our later philosophical discussions about communications, congratulations. You are a certified genius.
Oh, that rhymed.
That's
nice.
True. That's true. So, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next episode.
Goodbye.